So are we ready to reopen the country? Let's talk with Louisiana Congressman Mike Johson. He happens to be a member of the Opening Up America Again congressional group. He is a Republican, and it's good to have you back with us, Congressman.
Hey, Shannon, great to see you.
Okay, so let's talk about how some of this is going to go down. Steny Hoyer, who's the top Democrat, or excuse me, the second Democrat over there in the House, says this: the administration has failed to implement a comprehensive testing regime and continues to dodge responsibility to lead in this crisis. Now saying that states must come up with their own way of producing the tens of millions of tests required. That's a shocking abdication of the president's duty to the American people. So, Congressman, what's your understanding about the availability of tests, whether it's on states, the feds? How is this working or not working?
Well, what's shocking, my first reaction is what's shocking is that Democrats in Congress want to politicize this when this is no time for politics. We all need to be pulling together, and the president is doing that with these task forces, communicating directly with the governors. And as he told us on a conference call yesterday morning, almost all the governors are cooperating with him very well because we know we have to solve this crisis. Testing is not the end-all be-all, as your opening segment there just illustrated. The administration is doing everything they can. This is a historic, unprecedented ramp up in all these supplies that are needed. And as you just said, there'll be 17 million more swab tests added to the tests that are already out there in the next 30 to 45 days. So the federal government is doing everything it possibly can. And I think it's appropriate to look to the governors in the states under our system of federalism to step up and to help and to make some of these decisions on the ground level. They'll have the equipment they need. And as the president said, you heard him say it himself, if they don't have what they need, we'll help them get it. And that's all really you could ask of Washington.
Well, you know, his critics were very upset that he said he had authority to make these decisions about opening and closing. And now the plan that he's rolled out to many people seems very reasonable. There is criteria. It's data driven. It does now give authority to governors to make the best decisions for their states. But critics, including the man who wants to unseat him and take his job, former Vice President Joe Biden, says, I don't call this a plan. I think what he's done, he's punted. He's decided that he's not. Now he doesn't have the right to make the calls for the country. So too authoritarian, now punting. What do you think is a fair assessment of what the president's done?
I think Joe Biden would criticize President Trump, whatever he did, it would be wrong. And he's armchair quarterbacking, and he has the luxury of doing that. President Trump, on the other hand, has the responsibility of leading this nation. And I think most Americans appreciate what he's done, leading with authority and conviction and being accessible to everyone. He's out there every single day, completely transparent in what he's doing. I think it was realistic and right for him to acknowledge that this has to be a state-by-state decision. There's not a one-size-fits-all here. Even within states, like my state of Louisiana, we've been hit pretty hard by this pandemic. But what may be necessary in New Orleans for a reopening protocol, it may not be the same for where I live in Northwest Louisiana. So there has to be that decision made by those on the ground at the local and state level. They're the only ones that can accurately assess that data. And I think that's what the president's saying. I think most people understand that that's realistic and that's what has to happen.
You have had a really rough time of it down in the New Orleans area. I mean, Louisiana has had real strains on your medical resources down there, and the good people have been struggling quite a bit with that. There have been tornadoes through the South. There have been all kinds of things that you guys have had to deal with. In the meantime, Pew Research is looking into people's attitudes, how they're feeling about these ideas of reopening. When they were asked about concerns on restrictions on public activity, concerns they be lifted too quickly, 66%. Not quickly enough, 32%. We talked about this a little bit last night, but how do you regain the confidence of the American consumer out there, whether they feel good about sending their kids back out or going to a restaurant when those appropriate times come state by state? How do you reassure Americans that they will be safe or they won't participate in the economy in the way that we need them to?
Yeah, this will be a real test for our institutions. And this is when we need sound leadership, we need steady hands at the wheel at the local, state, and of course at the federal level. You know, the president's put out the guidelines. It's these three-phase protocol and steps to get back to some sense of normalcy. We're all eager to do that. We understand we have to because, Shannon, you know, and we've all been talking about this idea that we hit a point of diminishing returns on this very soon. You know, if public health is going to be the driving force behind this, this, and it should be, you have to realistically look at this. If you keep things closed down too long, that has a terrible long-term effect on public health. It leads more people into poverty, and it leads to record levels of unemployment that could be sustained. So those are all the factors that have to be considered here. We want to open the economy soon. That's what's going to make people feel confident again when they see things getting back to normal. What's normal again? That's going to spur on more activity. It's going to give people dignity in their work when they go back to work. And when we can get the kids back to school and large venues reopen and people back at church, I think that they'll feel a growing sense of confidence about what's happening. We have to do that sooner than later, and I think everybody recognizes that.
Yeah, well, we're all pulling for you folks down there in Louisiana and for the House as you try to put together an agreement on some further funding for small businesses that desperately need it. Congressman Mike Johson, good to have you. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.